Namaste. On behalf of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University, Department of English, we welcome you all for this program. Today, we are going to discuss discipline specific elective course for the graduates of English Literature. The title of the course is Women's Writing in English. It consists of 5 credit and the syllabus is covered in 5 blocks. I'll just give a bird's eye view about what exactly the course is. We are having 5 blocks in this course and we request the students to go through the syllabus. The first block, the title of the first block is Women and Writing, and it consists of 3 units. The first one is Writing Self and the women question, Personal is Political. We are trying to see the unit 1, 2 and 3 in a nutshell so that you can understand what exactly goes inside this block today. The second block is Subverting the Canon, which consists of again the 3 units. Fourth unit is The Women Speak, Breaking the Stereotypes and the Other World. The third block consists of Intersectionalities is the title of the third block, and we have 3 units in that. Unit 7, Difference as a Critical Category, Caste, Race and Ethnicity, Locations and Ideologies, and the unit 10 is on Sexualities. Unit 4, where we are trying to speak from the Women Speak, and the block 4 is again reflecting from a different feministic thought, where we are trying to see how feminism started, what is liberal feminism, what is radical feminism, and what kind of schools and waves of feminism are there in the feministic thought. So, unit 11 consists of schools and waves of feminism, unit 12 is the post-colonial, and unit 13 voices from the margin. The last block, the title is the contemporary, where we have 2 units in that, making and unmaking of the genres. So, it is not only from a story perspective or a narrative that we can see there are different genres. It can be a poem or a story or a novel or a piece of fiction, why it is written, what is the reason and what kind of historical background it has got, and why the writer is going to give a voice to the voiceless. So, women writing is all about the center, the tension between the center and the margins. So, remembering Gayatri Spivak, remembering the Gayatri Spivak here, can the subaltern speak? So, this is also one perspective of feminism or women writing we can see in this course. So, coming to the last, but the unit 15 is the other tongues. So, it is not only from one perspective that we can see. People are writing in Northeast, where from the Assam or Sikkim, or it can be from the South India, where a writer like Bama, who is writing from a Dalit perspective, or a writer coming from a Tamil background or from a Kannada or from Telugu. So, all these vernacular languages writers are writing their experiences. Very recently we can see in the 4th wave of feminism or 4th wave, where this is exclusively discussed in our coursework. So, coming to the first question of women and writing. Why do women write? The question is why women write and how it is different from the male writing. Do they write only for writing's sake, or is this ornamental, or is it something which gives a value and a voice to the people who undergo continuous suffering, agony and pain? So, this type of narratives we can see in the women perspectives, starting with unit 1, writing for the self. So, this is the first unit. I think this is in the page number 3. You can open this and then you can read, where the objectives are clearly written in this. So, the first is the unit 1, writing the self, where different forms in which women have written their personal narratives. So, it is purely experiential knowledge or lived experiences are seen in the personal narratives. It introduces the students to some important concepts such as anxiety of authorship, subjectivity and life writing. So, how to write? Is it in the first person or is it in the third person? So, these life writings are reflected in different genres and different forms as well. Keeping this, we have kept a very clear idea why women write. The question of women, the question of self arises here. Coming to the next one, next unit is titled The Women Question. The second unit of this block explains and discusses around women and issues related to women in West and in India. So, it is not only a Western concept, but looking back into Indian origins, we can see how women are celebrated, but at the same time in the patriarchy, the space is not given for the women for their own voices. So, this is all again we are explaining in the unit 3. Kindly go through that in our unit 2 with the title The Women Question. Coming to the unit 3, which we are discussing now, is personal is political, right. So, it is a turning point in women writings and women's movement as well. This is very important before going to women writing to discuss on women movements. Why women movements happen, what is the cause for it, how it is different from the movements of other movements in the society. So, women movements that personally was recognized as political. I am just giving one example, the black movement, or for that matter we celebrate Women's Day in the month of the March. But what is the reason, what is went behind I mean it is all history that we all know about it. It is about the struggle, the space, the voice and the rights. So, keeping that in view, we are discussing now the unit 3, personal is political. We have a very eminent resource person, Professor Sushila Kaushik ma'am from Delhi University, who is a retired from Delhi University, Fulbright scholar 2 times from Columbia University and Vanderbilt University. We welcome Professor Kaushik ma'am for the discussion. Thank you so much ma'am for coming and enlightening us with your views on women writing. Now, I request Professor Kaushik ma'am to give more details on how personal is political, in what perspective we can understand in literature as well as in the social scenario. Professor Kaushik.
Thank you, Madhuri. Thanks for those nice words. Yeah, personal is political is a very, very captivating concept. In fact, it is the fundamental concept of women's studies and in women's writings. Generally in society, we believe in a right across line drawn between men and women, and we assign certain types of roles to men and certain types of roles to women, certain values to men and certain values to women, and certain duties for men and certain duties for women. Particularly in a country like ours, there is sort of a line which is drawn is very strict, very hard, very harsh and very permanent. It has gone on from ages together. The belief that women have specific roles, specific spaces and specific duties, while men have different ones for themselves. This is what is called in women's studies personal, professional, personal, political dichotomization, public, private dichotomization. Most of the things which women do are very private. Cooking, household chores, which all those are duties which you done within the four walls, and reproduction, upbringing the children, looking after them, perhaps almost till you are alive or they are alive. These duties are given really to women. Getting hold of many of the training, which is skill training within the household, is given to women. And certain values, which is like obedience, tolerance, chastity, soft speaking, melodious voices, learning some art, and these are things which are given to women. The men are given duties, looking after their family, getting the things married, bringing finances in the house. This has come from a very early days. A writer like Marxist writers in the beginning opposed this. They said private and public are two dichotomized, not two dichotomization. Ancient times, women also hunted, women also went out, not merely the men. But once the family as a system came up, then the women were put inside the family and the men went outside. So that the division of roles came up, that division of labor came up. The women were to look after the family and the children. The men have to bring in the finances or do outside work. This is not really true. Most of us reflected it, most of the theories reflect this, and most of our studies reflect this, most of our novels reflect this, and our social ideas reflect this. This is not really true even today. If you go to the villages and the rural side, you won't find any woman sitting at home and just doing household duties. You will find all of them out in the agriculture. All of them participate in handicrafts. All of them make in the household production. So the difference comes only when it comes to money. When it comes to payment, the payment for all the household production, marketing, trading, dealing with the people outside, these things the men take care of, the women merely produces. This is the where the dichotomization was brought about. This led in course of time to its consequences. The women need not be educated because they only have to do household duties. The women have to be extremely honest, very soft, because they have to bring up those values. The women have to have been chaste, chastity become a big value, whereas the men can do whatever they want to, or at least it is not condemned wholesale, whereas the woman is condemned wholesale. Is this really true? Is this really happening? Was it there in history? Was it there in subsequent years? You will find that it's not really true. There is a cross section of caste, eliteness, and these became in course of time become bourgeois values, as they call it, middle class values, upper caste values, which now is moved into the other castes also, other levels of society too. With the result, they have become axiomatic truths, which they are not. And the result is women are confined homes. Women are deprived of developmental benefits. Women are expected to only do household duties. Whatever duties women do need not be valued. Whatever work they do not bring any income. If the income is not there, they are second class citizens within the family. If the income is not there, they become a luggage, a burden. So to bring them up, you need money. So you make dowry. The dowry system came in because the women are considered to be non-earning, but only producing household stuff. So the result is one concept, which is a wrong concept, a myth, has led over a period of time in various consequences, various ways, to the downgrading of women as second class citizens in all the countries. This is where the personal becomes political. This is where the women today also is deprived of the power, because the power comes with money, money comes with earning, earning comes from going out, and earning comes from ultimately earning from outside. Whatever woman does has no value. Whatever woman contributes has no value. Women's work at home is not included in your production statistics. Women's work is not included in the contribution of national production or income. Many people have fought this battle, but it's still not happening. So finally, we find in the In the unemployed figures, you will find more men unemployed, more women unemployed, and because they don't go for jobs. The unemployment business only has the men in it, because only what they do is called employment, what the women do is not employment. So the women's studies invented a new word called work. We won't use the word employed at all, we will use the word work, because they do work at home, the men work anyway, and they do earn, which is not in terms of concrete cash or money or check or bank account, but they do earn. So that this brings out the valuation of women little higher, and one can think in terms of bringing a certain amount of equality within the household. The households in India or elsewhere in the world is a powered institution. It's a political institution, because it's powered and political, because within the house there is a hierarchy. The hierarchy is male or superior, female or less. When you come to food, the males eat the best, the female is the last, the children somewhere in between. So this is where the whole family has become a political institution. Politics means power. Politics means hierarchy. Somebody up and somebody down. So personal becomes, family becomes, personal becomes, whatever she does becomes a political issue, a powered or empowered issue or lack of empowered issue. So we find ultimately this as its public manifestations. It is not true, because half the things women do are not merely private, but they are public. As I said, if they go to the agriculture, if they work in the fields, if they do all the various para-agricultural work, including grinding the food of the cattle, including dairy production, including looking after their health, it is a public work, it is not a private work. And nowadays, it has taken even a different shapes and much more open type of thing. More and more women are now coming out in professional fields. More and more women are getting employed in the patriarchal sense. More and more of them are earning cash. More and more of them in the various fields. So you find that above all, more and more women are emerging what is truly political, namely the political field, party political field. We do find all over the world women emerging as prime ministers and presidents. We do have, even in India, women in the positions of party leaders, the heads of the various political parties. But has it changed the position of women, ordinary women on the streets, ordinary women in the households? The men really realize very well that women have to be a part of their work, especially in agricultural, handicrafts, household, and many things. But do they give correspondingly the value and the recognition for the women's contribution to the family, to the society, and to the nation? No, no. There still is finding their public-private dichotomization. Chastity still remains as one of the big values. Even our ancient epics did not consider it that way, the way we men in ordinary lives are doing it. We do need a mindset change on this. We do have to bring about a big change as to what women do, what women contribute is as valuable as what the men do, men contribute, either way of child reproduction or by way of household production or by way of national production now. So this is where, when there is the big dichotomization which is going on in India, which is reflected in the writings of women. The very women are reflecting this sort of a political divide in their lives. More and more women are now writing on their own experiences, the challenges they face at home, the challenges they face outside. There's a big work and life dichotomization which has come up. As they are taking off more and more work outside, in the offices, in public life, as nurses, as doctors, they are finding this dichotomization is still not removed in the house. I knew a case where both the husband and the wife were doctors in the same hospital. when they got married, the husband didn't ask for dowry. But later on, he began demanding dowry that the wife had to commit suicide. They're both doctors, they were equal. According to all calculations, they are equal. But what happened finally? Today, the type of rapes, molestations, and even death taking place, actually they are murders, are taking place on those women who are highly qualified, highly appreciated otherwise, who are highly educated, but they still go through the same problem. What happens in Calcutta, what happened elsewhere in the country, what happened in UP clearly show that even if you become professionally very much advanced, you still find yourself socially down. These experiences are finding their reflection in the writings of women here. We require more and more of these writings, but these writings are emerging as individual experiences, collective experiences, and they need to be dealt with collectively, and no individual woman can deal with. Why did it happen to her? After all, she was a doctor, she knew very well, she was a highly qualified woman. Yes, but the result is patriarchy is still extremely strong force, and we haven't changed the society values, social values as such. As this can be removed only by a collective responsibility. So, a lot more women are participating in movements and then writing their experiences within the movement. A lot of them participated in the regional movements in India, in Assam, language movements in India, anti-Arak movement in Andhra, and such social movements which not specifically womanish but has very great implications for them. What happened to their histories? Are we reading them? Anti-Arak movement was there for a short while. After that, whatever writing was done on anti-Arak has gone away from our classrooms and others, and is similar to all the other movements. So, we find that women's and the same is true about violence against women. We have passed dowry, we have passed Domestic Violence Act, we have passed Anti-Sexual Harassment Act, and very many women went about talking about this anti-sexual harassment. They went on giving the doctors, laws were made, the laws were interpreted, laws were carried to ordinary people in the form of seminars, articles and writings. But what happened? Have they given up sexual harassment? If anything, it is increasing a lot more these days. So, we need more and more writing on this. We need to bring these writings into our classrooms, into our literature, into our documentation. This is why the personal is political is coming up very much. Madhuri, I do think the customs remain as a very big challenge before the society. It's a challenge not merely for women, but it's a challenge for men too. The duties and the responsibilities which have been imposed on the men have led a lot of men also commit suicide, because they are not in a position to bear those duties. Getting your sister married, getting your daughter's parents looked after, why should it be only that of boys? Why can't it be that of girls also? These are social customs which have brought about. Very many legislations have come onto it, and these, apart from social values and others, I think one of the things in your interdisciplinary studies we need to have is law. What are the laws which have been made in favor of women, and what are the judgments which have been there in favor of women? That also has to be understood by us. More literature is needed on how the women fought through the law, used the law to fight against and come out somewhat free of these challenges. I think one of the things we have to introduce is this interdisciplinary studies, even more, and our literature on these case studies which the lawyers do, law students do, also has to come into our women's literature to other students in English. So, I finally think that in my view, overcoming patriarchy for self-preservation of women, for the empowerment of women, for the various challenges manifested by the patriarchy in life, these things have to come into our literature, and they are there. we have to bring in and make them talk about these things more and more. Not merely family, as the sociologists say family is the most fundamental unit of sociological studies. Lawyers will say rights is the most fundamental principle of legal studies. Political science will say power is the basis of all systems. So, let us bring all that and make it into a combined study of women literature, and they are literature even if they mean various fields as such. Then you will have this personal is political, and this gender spaces you have given private and public sphere. I think that has to move in. Practical side has moved out. We have destroyed this wall between private and public, but a lot of women still suffer from work and life, personal and political, domestic and forward. Many companies are worried about this work and life patterns, divisions, and literature will have to deal with that. Yeah. And all the experiences of the companies have to be brought out.
Yes.
About this.
Thank you so much, Professor Kaushik, for giving an importance specifically from all sectors, whether it can be social, political, economic, how power and control is playing a vital role in the patriarchy. It's not only about femininity, but also the question of masculinity, how to address the masculinity, what kind of grappling issues are there, in what kind of anxiety that is taking place between the genders. It's not only about men and women, but also other is included in gender perspective. Coming into in the final, thus I want to have a few points that is discussed here in our video is on about. We start with how personal is political, what kind of narratives are there, why it is important to see not only from the first person perspective, but also from the third person narrative. So, the different styles of genres are there, and we are trying to see from a multidisciplinary layer, because it is not only from women writing, documentation is also very, very important. Women movements, how it started in the world, how it started before independence and after independence, and very, very recently we can see anti-Iraq movement. But what about the documentation? So, it is a $1 million question for women writers. What kind of documentation is being done, not in the first wave or second wave feminism, but we can see very recently Me Too movement started somewhere between 2011 and 12. So, these narratives are different, they are coming out, the voices are strong, and they are trying to see, trying to understand and peel the layers of pain, agony and suffering. As rightly pointed out by Professor Sushila Kaushik here, law is also very, very important, not only from an academic point of view, but from the humanistic point of view. Every student should understand why it is in place, and it is not the law but implementation of law, and to give the spaces for the women when they come to the work, what kind of spaces are given, whether the voices are heard. So, all these are discussed in our discussion. At the same time, kindly go through the first block of women writing in English. It will be very useful for you if you go through all the 3 units. The need of the hour is not only understanding, but awareness is the need of the hour. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity where you can understand the concept of women writing. Thank you.